Welcome Bear Scouts, it is time to work on the Whittling Chip. This will be needed for earning your Bear Claws requirement loop, so let's get to it. Alright Bear Scouts, it's time to go over knife safety rules. So first one, a knife is a tool, not a toy. Number 2, know how to sharpen a knife. A sharp knife is way safer than a dull knife because it is less likely to slip and cut you. So a dull knife doesn't cut through things as easy as a sharp knife. Number 3, keep the blade clean and dry. Otherwise, if the knife was dirty or wet, if it's wet, it might rust if it's not the right metal material. If it's dirty, it might ruin the locking mechanism on your pocket knife, so we wouldn't want that to happen. Number 4, never carry an open pocket knife. Anybody know why that's a good rule? That is good because we don't want anybody to be running around with an open pocket knife in case they fall or trip on a stump. Then they could fall and injure themselves or somebody else while running or walking around with an open pocket knife. When you are not using your knife, you need to close it using the palm of your hand and put it away. Number 6, when you are using the cutting blade, do not try to make big shavings or chips. Cut slowly and steadily. Number 7, make a safety circle. So this is how you do that. Before you pick up your knife to use it, stretch your arm out in a circle. If you cannot touch anyone or anything else, it is safe to use your knife. So you have control of your body. So you don't ask the other person to move, you move yourself because you have control over your body. That way you can be in a range where you will not accidentally hurt anybody. While using your knife, be sure to watch in case somebody walks towards you or gets too close. So if that does happen, put your knife away until it is safe to continue. Now, you always want to cut away from you, never toward you. So if you cut towards yourself, you could slip and end up cutting yourself, and that would be very bad. Number 9, never hand a knife to somebody else blade first. Learn and use eye contact method of handing a knife to someone. We will demonstrate this later on in our video. Do not release the knife until the other person makes eye contact with you or says, yes, I have the knife. Number 10, never use a knife on something that will dull or break it. Number 11, never throw a knife for any reason. Number 12, always think before you cut. Do not use your knife to strip bark from a tree or carve your initials into something that does not belong to you. So those are the safety rules for handling a pocket knife. Requirement number 2 on the Whittling Chip checklist is show that you know how to take care of and use a pocket knife. So we will demonstrate that here in a little bit. Number 3 is make a carving with your pocket knife and work with your den leader or adult or guardian while you're doing this. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just grab a bar of soap and we can do a carving together. Number 4 is read and understand the promise to abide by the Knives Are Not Toys guidelines. And number 5, read, understand, and promise to abide by the pocket knife pledge. These are on the Whittling Chip card that you will receive after completing this.
Easiest way we've found so far to sharpen the knives is to keep the angle that's already ground onto it. Now at Buck Knives we grind 16-degree angle per side, and there are some sharpening systems out there that take advantage of that. But if you're going to do it freehand like we do, the easiest way to keep the angle there is to use the Sharpie to tell you whether or not you're on that angle. We'll start by painting the ground edge of the knife with the Sharpie. And it's okay if you get some Sharpie on the blade, because you can wipe it off with alcohol later. Take a few swipes across this, and it's okay if the black gets on this. You can wipe it off with the alcohol too. And take a look at what you're doing on here. And it helps to have a good solid light source so that you can see that from here to here, what I'm seeing is I'm getting all the way across the grind. But what out here, I'm just getting on the sharp edge and leaving black behind it. So I start where I was here, and as I get here, I lay it down a little flatter. And I keep doing that until I consistently get the black off. And I can put the black on as many times as I need to make sure that I'm doing this right. Let's say 25 on a side. So when I get past 25 of these, I'll switch over and I'll put the black on this side. And then I'll repeat the process from this side. So I'll do a few of those 5 or 6 times, and I'll look and see how much of the black I'm removing and adjust accordingly. And then I'll do another 25 on this side. And the whole goal of this is, if you look down the edge this way, what you're seeing is you're grinding on this side a few times and you're grinding on this side a few times, and where they don't meet, you'll never get a sharp edge. But if you keep grinding back and forth, as soon as they do meet, it'll curl away from the sharpener and you'll get a burr. And what you do is you feel for that burr by putting your thumb this way and going across the edge and go all the way down the edge so that you can see if the burr is there. Or check on this side. You can either switch hands. What you want to get is a burr from here to here, so that you know that the whole thing is going to be sharp. Once you've raised the burr, instead of doing 25 on a side, you'll cut that in half and do 12 on a side. So get up to about 10. And then do this. And you can still be using the Sharpie to check your angle. Make sure you're doing this right. Then after you do the 12, you can break it down to 6 or 8 on a side. And then you'll do 3 or 4 on a side. And the goal of that is to abrade away that burr. You don't want to break it off, because that'll create a dull spot and you'll have to start over. And the goal is that you want to have your strokes go from 25 down to once per side, or maybe twice per side. This whole time I am not pressing hard on the edge. I'm only using this much load against the sharpener, but I do keep a good grip on it so that I have control. And when we talk about the sharpeners, one of the things that you can add to your control is you can lay these rubber tips onto the table and use that. But again, to finish, the goal is to have 1 or 2 per side. I usually slow down at this point so that I'm paying very close attention to what I'm doing. And then I'll check for that burr, and if I don't have a burr on either side of the edge, then I have a sharp knife. You can do a little paper test, and as long as it's cutting like that, it's fine. But what you're looking for with this paper test is when it gets to something like that, you'll notice the tear right there. This is from a nick left on the edge, and a nick like that will leave a telltale. So the way to get that out is to go back to a coarser grit, and you can work in little circles like this and do 25 on this side. And go ahead and use the Sharpie to keep your angle correct, and then do 25 on this side, and then do 25 on this side, and then finish up with 8 or 10 on this side like this, just to get everything blended back together, and then 5 or 6, and then 3 or 4, and finish up with 1 or 2, and check again for that burr. And as long as you don't feel a burr, you're good. If you do still feel a little burr right there, go back and just do the one.
Thank you. I have the knife. All right, so I've made my stop cut in the bar of soap, and we are going to practice doing some shavings. So I'm gonna set one end down, and I'm keeping my fingertips in just in case the knife slips, and you want to go away from yourself like this. Nice and slow. Makes nice little curls. So those are shavings. Once you figured out what you want to carve into your bar of soap, just kind of design it and go. Notice we're making small shavings, not big giant cuts. That was a nice one. So here is my soap carving. I made a little canoe. And then here are all the soap shavings from it. Notice they're nice little thin strips. And what you can do with these, since soap is such a necessity right now, you can add these into water and make liquid soap. Just blend it to the right consistency and then you have more soap. All right, Bear Scouts, let's go over the pocket knife pledge. Repeat after me. I understand the reason for safety rules. I will treat my pocket knife with the respect due a useful tool. I will always close my pocket knife and put it away when I'm not using it. I will not use my pocket knife when it might injure someone near me. I promise never to throw my pocket knife for any reason. I will use my pocket knife in a safe manner at all times. Congratulations, you just took the pocket knife pledge.